Hi guys, Sam from Everything PSP here. Today we have a special Christmas episode where I'm going to be customizing a PSP 3000 for one of my viewers and surprising him with it for Christmas. Now we can see the unboxing here, it's a PSP 3000 and I also quickly went to the shops and grabbed this cool Totoro case to complete the build. We'll start by stripping the console down and cleaning all the internals and making sure that everything is working correctly. I've done teardowns in the past on this channel, so if you're interested in following this process in more depth and detail, check in the corner here for a link to one of my previous builds for a PSP 2000. Now there are some slight differences between the 2000 and 3000 series, but they are largely the same. Now when I do any of these videos, I always recommend to use isopropyl alcohol as your cleaning solution. It evaporates without leaving any residue, and it's also antibacterial, so it helps not only to disinfect, but it also helps to clean any old consoles that you're refurbishing, especially if you're going to be giving it to someone else. It's always a good idea to make sure that everything's as clean and close to factory as possible. Now we're going to begin reassembling the PSP. I've also replaced the joystick because the original one was a bit grubby, but otherwise everything's OEM. It's worth noting that you really have to make sure that inside of the faceplate is clean and free of dust, because otherwise it will show up really badly when you finish the build. The home bar buttons are a little bit fiddly to get in there, but just take your time and make sure not to crush them. And now with the faceplate put back, we can reinstall the other external hardware such as the screws, the battery and the battery cover. There was also this annoying printed label that was from the supplier where I bought this PSP, so we're just removing that and again cleaning up any muck and grime using that isopropyl alcohol. It's really good for getting rid of smudges and stains. You'd be surprised how well a console will clean up just by giving it a good deep clean with isopropyl. You may need to do a few passes to get deeper smudge and grime, but it makes a huge difference to the way the console looks as a whole. Just remember to swap out your cotton pad or whatever you're using to clean the console. If you notice that it's getting dirty, make sure to swap it out to a clean one before continuing. Okay, so we're just doing the last few final touch-ups here before we apply a screen protector. Not only does this obviously protect the screen, but it does also do a pretty good job at filling in very minor scratches on the surface of the PSP. Just working out all the bubbles here. Now obviously this is fast forwarded, so this was about 10 times speed. And there's that famous startup sound, so at least we know that it's been put back together and it's working correctly. And here's just a quick look at the console now that I've given it a good clean. Now the next step is to customize it. But I actually forgot something, so I had to quickly reorder one of these memory stick adapters. You've probably seen them online. It just converts SD card to the Memory Stick Pro Duo. Now the viewer was going to pop over to set it up with me, but he fell ill and then some other stuff got in the way. You know, life happens, so in the end I decided to continue with the customization side of things myself. So I've unwrapped his presents for him, and the first thing we're going to do is set up the memory card. So the first thing we're going to do is wrestle the micro SD card out of its packaging, and we're going to then insert it into the adapter that we bought. This other adapter we'll keep aside for later, that will be useful. Now before we do anything else on the memory card, the first thing we'll do is remove the dummy stick that I had in there for testing, and we'll put this one in, not only to see if it works, but also to format it. I always find it's a better idea to format the card with the PSP directly, rather than set up the file architecture yourself. Not only does it save time, but then you know that it's going to be correct straight off the bat. The next thing to do is to transfer it to the SD card reader. Now you can use this method, or of course you can use the USB interface that the PSP comes with, but I find from my experience that using the SD card adapter just makes things a bit easier, and you're also not having to run the PSP while you're doing this process. So the first file we're going to transfer is my little user guide that I've made. And now we're going to bring across the official firmware as well as the custom firmware. This PSP is going to be running 6.61, but you can do your own research and choose which one you think will be suitable. I generally prefer to use this setup, and it's worked really well for me so far. The next thing is what I would classify as an essential application, which is Homebrew Sorter. It allows you to change the order in which the XMB icons appear, and will also be transferring across a stable version of the Game Boy emulator. Quickly cleaning up those files. Now the next step is to put in some sample backgrounds. I generally like to put a few sample files in each of the folders. It does make the PSP feel a bit more settled into itself, and it means that when they go in later to customize it, they have a feel for where everything's supposed to go. Now we're going to start copying across some games. I'm not going to really spend too much time on this for obvious reasons, but you can see here we've got some classic games on the desktop there. We're just copying some of those across. Now the next step is CXMB. This will allow us to run the custom themes. So I'm just checking the README to find the required line of text that we need to add to our VSH. We'll add this CXMB folder into SE plugins, and we'll create a text document with this line of text at the top and save it as vsh.txt in the SE plugins folder. I know I'm kind of rushing through it for today's video, but if you guys want me to sit down and spend some more time going through plugins, just let me know in the comments and I'm happy to make something in the future. Okay, so that's the CXMB plugin all sorted. Now just another couple of bonus files, putting across some music here and also some movies which are in PSP format. If you're interested in converting movies to PSP format, you can check out my video in the corner here. And these are just a quick look for you guys to see the sample backgrounds I put on there. Okay, so the movies are just about copied across. This is fast forwarded in post obviously. We're just renaming the files because whatever they are here is how they appear on the console. So quickly, just before we go, we'll check the available capacity now that we've set everything up. And there's still a decent chunk of size for ISOs. So now we're going to remove it from the Mac and chuck it across to the PC. I've got a dual OS set up for all of my softwares and different things working on different platforms. So now on the Windows computer, I didn't have any screen recording software, but it's pretty simple. I just made a folder called ISO in the root directory, and then it's just a simple matter of copying the files across. Some games take up more space than others, so you do have to be picky and kind of creative in the list of games that you choose, and keeping an eye on that free space to see how many more you can squeeze in. Okay, so that's pretty much all of that done. The next thing to do is to install the official firmware, and before we do that we're going to delete the CIPL flasher straight away. The reason being is it's not required for the way I set my PSPs up, but I won't get into too much detail there. But yeah, basically we're installing official firmware update 6.61, which will take a little bit of time to process. And once that's complete, we will then run custom firmware 6.61 Pro C2. Just quickly going into the system settings to check the version is correct, and then running the Pro update. Press X to install, and it will reboot into the custom firmware. Now if at any point this completely powers off or anything goes wrong, you just need to run fast recovery to get back into CFW. That's why I don't use the CIPL flasher, but otherwise we're just cleaning up some of the files here, testing everything that it's working. Music's working fine, the movies are good, setting the background and adjusting the theme. Because we have our VSH already set up, this will boot us straight into the custom PS5 theme. You can check out this video here in the corner where I go through that process in more detail, and I also have a link in that video to download the PS5 theme if you want that for your PSP. Okay, so just a couple of final tweaks to the OS. We're going to adjust the clock speed so that we propagate our games list a little bit faster. Just makes it a bit nicer to use. Otherwise everything looks good and we are pretty much complete. So now it's the moment of truth. We're going to see what the viewer actually thinks of this when we go and deliver this to him in person. Thank you for watching if you've been sticking with me so far, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming up on the channel, so definitely stay tuned for that. But without much further ado... Okay, so I know that you've been following the channel a lot and you're pretty interested in what we do at Everything PSP. As a way to say thank you for your support, I have something for you. Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you.
And Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you too. Unfortunately, I didn't get you anything.
That's okay. It's all in the spirit of giving, right?
That is what it is about.
My gift is your happiness and someone to not spoil it. So
we've got a charger.
I wonder
here.
what it could be. What could this be?
What could this possibly be?
So that's it used to be the big SD card, and it also had your adapter in there. But I've already done those steps for you. So
this is the real present here. I've been actually very interested in getting my own PSP for a very long time. So
I'm sure you have. Yeah, I wonder what it could be. So that's a Totoro case, exclusive. I tracked that down.
Cool.
Tracked that down. They're very hard to find. But that's a carry pouch for you.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And
for whatever it could be.
Oh wow!
Oh my goodness!
Look at that.
Excuse the fingerprints. I was setting it up before.
That's so cool. Look at the silver.
It's definitely in good condition considering its age. But you got a free game just to whatever. You got Grand Theft Auto.
Liberty City.
It's running the PS. It's running
yeah.
It's running custom firmware. It's running the original.
That's what we want.
The PS5 theme that we've all been running on the channel. You've got a war, Medal of Honor, Battlefront 2.
It's an immediate go-to right here.
Yeah, so there's a couple of quirks. There's another version of Battlefront 2 right at the bottom of your list, which you'll see later. That's the hacked custom version that I did on my channel.
Is that 40k Warhammer?
Yes, it's a turn-based, you're basically playing Warhammer.
Oh, Final Fantasy Daxter, that's cool. Ratchet Clank, Little Big Planet, nice. Ape Escape. Good in. There's some cool games on here, man. This is awesome.
So I tried to...
And the variety of them as well. There's so many.
I tried to loosely categorize them and also try and get, so that's all the system files on the bottom. That's the custom version of Battlefront. So that's the new maps, that's the one I did on my channel, or like all the updated shit.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's like super hacked. You can also do a lot of different things. But yeah, so Merry Christmas.
Thank you. This is awesome, man. I appreciate it.
Job done. Thanks for watching Everything PSP. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll continue to watch Everything PSP.
Yes, you
will. Look
will.
forward to seeing more of the cool content and perhaps even featuring some of this on there.
So once again, a really big thank you to my viewers and subscribers for helping this channel grow so much. I've been really enjoying the journey with Everything PSP, and I'm looking forward to what this year has to offer. If you have any ideas, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time on Everything PSP.